Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Liberia. Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Morovia. Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Africa. Just to spoon you will know. If the children crying for starvation, just to spoon. You want to get a news update, my brother, to spoon. You want to know what is happening, Moravia, to spoon. Politicians want to make their decision, just to spoon. You want to know what happening in the ministry, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. You from Vanjama, Maryland, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. If you eat keep on grudging like my brother, to spoon. You got a spoon TV, you got a spoon radio, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. What? Yeah, Rastafari. Kilibamba, kilibamba, kilibamba. Kilibamba, kilibamba, kilibamba. What I want? Yes, what you got today? Spoon TV. Yes, what you got today? Spoon TV. Spoon TV. Skiddy dabado. Spoon TV. Spoon Entertainment. Go. Go to there. Go to there. On the spoon. Yes, I do information. On the spoon. Yes, I do. Spoon television. Yes, I do. Spoon radio station.
Okay. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to yet another edition of the Spoon Talk, your premier talk show in Liberia. And it's always a pleasure to be here. My name is Yekezi Zobel, and of course, I'm going to be sitting in this beautiful Friday evening as your producer. So let's go over to Dr. Richardson and James to kickstart the show.
Yekezi, and good day. And Liberians, how are you guys doing today?
I'm good by God's grace.
Well, I'm okay.
Oh, that's good. That's good. It's good to see you guys on this beautiful Friday here in my neck of the wood. I hope all is well. It's probably 8 o'clock by now in Liberia. I hope Liberians are settling down or perhaps getting ready to have a wonderful weekend. I want to just welcome you to Spoon Talk and want to also have you engage in the conversations about Liberia. So, Yagasi, I'm going to turn to you and sort of ask you what's going on in Liberia, and then we'll go to Good Day.
Yeah, so a few hours ago, President Weah made an appointment in government wherein he appointed Assistant Internal Affairs Minister. He appointed Mr. Hilary Mentor as acting Assistant Minister of Internal Affairs for Administration. And the president mandated Mr. Mentor to assume 4 authority and manage the affairs of the ministry as assistant minister for administration, and the appointment is subject to confirmation. And also, today, the senator of Nimba County, Senator Prince Yomi Johnson, who is also the chairman of the governing council of the Movement for Democracy and Reconstruction, he expressed optimism. He expressed certainty that the Unity Party ticket, will win the pending presidential election, uh, according to him, predicated on prevailing situations in the country, the economic hardship that Liberians are going through currently, predicated upon the mysterious deaths that are ongoing, mysterious disappearances, and all of that. So, according to him, with all of what's going on within the country, it's just an indication that President George Weah or the citizen government is campaigning against itself. So, according to him, the October 10 election is going to be a very, very easy route for the Unity Party. And also, today, a clergywoman of the God's Healing Power and Deliverance Ministry, Reverend Mother Doris Campbell, uh, today, she revealed a very special message. According to her, God had revealed to her that all Christians in Liberia, as of the dissemination of the message, as of the time the message was disseminated, all Christians in Liberia must fast for 31 days, because she said it's been revealed to her that the pending elections are going to be violent. So she said God revealed to her that Christians in Liberia must pray for 31 days against violence, against a violent election. And she spoke just a few hours ago with a Spawn TV Live. So basically, those are some of the major training happenings in the country now.
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah, I can see. Thank you for updating us. And I'm gonna go over to Good Day. Good Day. You have anything to chime in on?
Basically, you can talk about all, but I just wanted to just say how brave our team from the CDC and the Unity Party, or all of the political parties, can be so brave to say they will win first round election in Liberia. I don't know where they can come from with that other daydreaming activity. But relating to what Yekesi talking about, the revelation from the lady, we we should also get ready to see many revelations. We saw similar things that happened during the 2017 elections. We interviewed several of them coming up, and you can also say no. And uh, just to conclude, the Unity Party again, I'm told they are getting. Today, I got our information. I think I talked about it few days ago that they are getting ready to go to Nimba County. So that is expected to be the next talking point for them. And for our listeners, Senator Dillon was to be here, but due to some reasons, he had to postpone his appearance to Tuesday. So he's going to be here on Tuesday after the Senate sitting.
So that is the reason he's not coming tonight. Possibly that's all.
Yeah. So we have Professor Alaric Topa who will be coming in, right? He's coming in
Yeah,
the studio, and
yeah.
he'll be having a conversation with us. We'll be asking him questions. So we'll wait for my colleagues, the other panelists, to pull into the station, and then definitely on the set to pull in the set, and then definitely we'll have a conversation with you. Um, okay, so that's pretty good. I was just, thinking about the appointment by we are today. Uh, well, we have 4 more months before elections. I don't know about the timing to be appointing somebody, except he has some immediate objectives or goals that he wants to have accomplished at the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Do we know, is this person extraordinary, or do we know what's going on there? Yeah, Cassie, did you hear me? Do you know about the appointment? The appointment.
Yeah.
It just seemed like an odd time to appoint someone right like before the elections. But so this appointment was just pending. It was just something that he just made.
Yeah, so the appointment was actually made on Tuesday, but the statement, the release
Hmm.
was published today on the Executive Mansion website. And actually, the name Hillary Mentor is not, a household name in the political spectrum of Liberia.
That's interesting. Um, that is interesting. I would have just thought that appointments would be made after election, and then revisit the goals and objectives of the government. But that's interesting. Maybe he just felt he needed to appoint someone now. But yeah.
We yeah.
Mhm.
Regarding the appointment, we saw similar things like I think uh, his during the Unity Party administration, people were appointed 3 months to election, 2 months to election. They were appointed. So again, those appointments are basically political sometimes. If James is appointed last minute to term as a minister, a minister proper or assistant or even director, James is going to do everything possible he can to maintain his job. Sometimes these things happen. Yeah, if you are appointed, you will have to do everything for your boss to win the election so you can continue your job because definitely when he's booted out or she's booted out, you're not going to serve that position. The new president will come in with his or her people. So most of these appointments are necessary for presidential candidates who are president already to add up or to beef his campaign or her campaign.
Absolutely. And you're right, James. Um, anyone can be appointed anytime. There's no stipulation that says you cannot be appointed 3 months before elections. It's just that someone like me, like the internal ministry, I imagine is a ministry that has to deal with many things, and I can't imagine you getting some goals and objective done in what 3 to 4 months. I would just be starting acclimating myself, putting my thoughts together, getting out into the field, those kind of things. So, but again, maybe it's a politically motivated appointment, as you were stating. Maybe it's another way to increase your people who will vote for you, your voters. So that's just kind of what I'm thinking. But the
Yeah.
Constitution does not prevent the presidents from appointing anybody. They can appoint anybody whatever time they want to. So that's good. All right, we'll wait for Mr. Topa to come in. Is he in the studio already? You can see or no?
He's in the compound. He will soon be ushered in.
Okay, great. Thank you. So as we wait, I'm just going to sort of welcome my guests here today. And I'm not going any particular order, just to let you guys know. It's kind of whoever shows up here. I'd just like to welcome all the commentators because I know you guys are such an instrumental part of this program. You guys are engaged, you asking questions, you commenting. So we want to just thank you very much for joining us. I want to welcome Musu Tom. I actually know Musu Tom. She's was an awesome friend to my mother, a very good friend to my mom. So thank you for watching, Miss Musu. If there's the Musu Tom I know who's married to Jesus Tom, that's how I remember your husband's name, and good friend to my parents. Peter Hill from Kakata, I'm also watching you. James Sakali is also watching from Charlotte. Uh, and let me just go down the list here. Why my computer getting stuck on me here? Gee whiz. Okay, there we go. This Lasana Sisse is watching from Lower Margibi County, Tower Hill specifically. That's where he's watching from. Mina W. Famler is watching from Omega Community. Hi, Mina. Corty Brabler. Brabler is watching. Hi, Corty. Tipples PK Dempster. He's always watching. Thank you for following us. I see you all the time here. So, Tipple PK Dempster, thank you for being here. Daniel NK Powell is watching from Matadi Singer. I always like to hear where you guys are watching from. Uh, Nancy Bala is also here. Nancy, thank you for being here. Nora Kamanda is here. James, Nora said, you and myself, we are matching today, I guess, because we're wearing prints. I'm wearing the darker print and you're wearing the lighter print. So you're laughing, James. Michael Simpson is here today. You know, people watch every single thing that we do, which is just interesting. I don't know, we get so much information in our inbox, you guys. It's unbelievable. During the show, after the show, you know, people just call us to ask. Sometimes people just get in my inbox and say, "Hi, how are you? You related to this person, or you remind me?" I mean, it's just really interesting. So, but anyway, Raymond Mulba, thank you so much. Jay Benedict Sunda is watching from UAE Dubai. Thank you for joining us. I hope all of the Liberians that are in Dubai, I hope that they are watching Spoon and will be joining us to enjoy the show. JN, oh, I see Nimada Voka. Nimada Voka, I think that's how you pronounce your name. I hope I'm getting it right. Thank you for being here. Uh, and Charles Na, thank you for coming in. Charles Na. Joseph Jala is here from Fishtown City, River G County. Joseph, thank you for staying with Spawn and being here. And I have Anthony M.S. Fofana. He's watching from the Japanese Freeway, Monrovia. I think that's one of the best highway in Monrovia. I really enjoy riding on that highway. Hey, my people, you have to keep that place there for us. And even the governments, I would just encourage the government to please just maintain it. Y'all keep sweeping the road, picking up the dirt. I mean, it's a super highway. I like that highway a lot. Reminds me of, you know, driving in other parts of the world. Um, Kawa Flomo, watching from Todmanburg City. Todmanburg City is Kawa Flomo. James G. Yega is watching already. Tuli Davis is also watching. Perry Archivon says hi. How are you? Baker Ramsey says hi. Lei Seku Sese says hello as well. KZ Emmanuel Emmanuel Paul. He says he's watching from Des Moines, Iowa, USA. Bookman's son is also watching. He said there's too many car accidents on the Japanese highway. Really? I didn't know that. You said it.
Yes, sometimes the motorbike riders, you have those who coming from Central Monrovia going, you have one side to go. But sometimes these guys, while rushing, they will leave the side that's supposed to be sometimes due to traffic and take the opposite lane. Yeah, the last time when I was in Liberia, we were driving on our side. Someone died just like that. They took the wrong side.
Wow.
For them to be going to Monrovia way, instead they took the side that you have to be coming from Central Monrovia way, running
What
to
are,
go.
what
And
are
I
they
don't know
thinking of?
sometimes what they can be thinking.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
see all that traffic coming out, be going the opposing direction. Yeah.
Another one died again on our same route. He and his friends they bet to say I will loosen my brake and take the opposite path and drive without holding brake. And he died like a rat because he ended up under the truck again. He
Amen.
loosened his brake. They were two taking the race. Who can run by their friends? I think they came from New Georgia Estate Junction to Broad Street.
That
That
is
was
sad.
the distance that they were driving to. But
That
he could
is
not
too
make
sad.
it.
That
He
is
left
too
behind.
sad. That somebody, amen, somebody 9 months child. That's what pains me, man. But why would you do that? Y'all
Yeah.
take good care on that road. Y'all don't be running on that road there. Y'all try.
No,
Um,
motorbike guys, I don't know how they can drive in Liberia.
yeah, I'm seeing our guest is in the studio already. And so James, I don't want to keep him waiting. Um,
Bring him on.
yeah, I think we're gonna get started until I'm looking for uh yeah. So
I should bring it on.
yeah, bring him on. Yeah, so the viewers, I like to appreciate you being here today. We have Professor Alari Topa is in the studio. He's here already. And hello, Mr. Topa, how are you?
Good evening, depending on where your audience is. Hi, everybody.
I see everybody doing fine. The viewers are all over Monrovia, all over Liberia. So I think they're doing fine. How you doing? How everything with you?
We thank God for everything.
Yeah, yes, thank God. The rest of the panelists will be coming in, but I'm very time conscious. I get anxious when I don't start on time or do things as I'm expected to do. So I'm going to ask you to just start maybe by introducing yourself and just bear with me. They're going to come in, roll into the program. So do you want to? I'm sure they're listening as they rush in to come into the program. Do you want to start then by just telling us about yourself?
In the name of God Almighty, I thank you for the invitation. I also want to thank you very much for establishing a forum, a platform on which you encourage opposing opinions, opposing viewpoints. For that very reason, I, Alari Tupa, an educator, a farmer, and a radical Christian, appear here tonight to represent the view of the poor and oppressed people of Liberia. I am the leader of the social democratic tendency in the progressive community. We are very sensitive to the insistence of a conservative political class that wants to continue to take ownership of Liberia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to just ask you a few questions, and then James will join me to ask you as well. you said something about the insistence of I'm not quoting you, of a political class that wants to dominate Liberia. Can you clarify? Just tell us a little bit more.
As a state was constructed in Liberia, we have a situation in which international finance capital has infiltrated our country in collaboration with a very conservative state. So foreign companies in Liberia steal wealth, bishops enjoy, poor people suffer. The national policy of governments after governments in our country has been stealing, and the foreign policy has been begging. We think this has to end.
Yes, I agree with you. In terms of, you said government after governments have been stealing, and our foreign policy is now begging. Would you like to also expand on any specific governments do you think that have been stealing in our country, that you want to expand on that?
I appreciate the interest in the details of what is happening in our country. But I'm on the side of theory more. My competence is in political philosophy, political economy, and research methodology. So I like to look more at broad trends. As far as I'm concerned, if we define the problem of Liberia, we have leadership crisis that needs to be resolved. Everything is related. Everything is interconnected. I am not talking about specific government administration. I'm talking about a regime type, a system of government in which the executive branch controls the judiciary and the legislature, whereby there are divided powers and shared functions in our system of governance. The presidency is imperial. The presidency has been given too much power and be allowed too much power. The prerogatives of the presidency in our country has to be reduced. We have a problem that has occurred over time. From one government to the other, there may be behavior patterns or attitudes that vary in some degrees, but in general, what we have is a system of governance in which majority of the people are oppressed, majority of the people are suffering.
Okay, I'm going to circle back to James Goodday. James Goodday, you have two questions for Professor Larry Tupa.
Yeah, Professor, welcome again. You talk about a system that is controlled by the presidential arm of the country when we have, division of powers in our country. But if I'm right, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. I'm told you are also a supporter of the JNB presidency. If we will look at governments in the past to be corrupt, or we will classify them to be corrupt, why are you supporting another individual who worked in the Liberian government as the second person in command, specifically from the executive? Why are you supporting that person to come back to power? What is the difference you think he's going to bring to the Liberian presidency? when he was a vice president yesterday, and quote unquote the same corrupt attitude was staying in place.
Have you established, as a matter of fact, my political position in Liberia, and who ought to determine the political position I take in my country? As a matter of fact, I represent the social democratic tendency in the progressive community. We work with reality. If I should be blunt, there are broad trends in society that can be examined and understood. I'm convinced that the people of this country have a trait that we should seek to understand if we want to analyze Liberian politics. I was told that I'm coming to discuss national issues. If you drag me into the side on which I stand, I established from the beginning that I'm on the side of the Liberian people, mainly the poor and oppressed. I speak for my community. Has it now been established over and over that Mr. Bwaka is one of the ones that is likable, that is popular? We will work to construct popular participation in democracy in Liberia. Have to understand the way in which the people of this country think. If we do not, we run a risk of telling them always. The important thing is this: the side that is supported by the progressive community must be willing to sit on a table and discuss an agenda, a program for national healing, national renewal. As far as I'm concerned, the state in Liberia needs to be deconstructed. There needs to be rethinking.
Can I interrupt you a bit?
Reconstruction of the state.
Can I interrupt you a bit?
You are very welcome.
My question is now basically about the side you're supporting. You are a political scientist, if I may term it like that, right? I'm looking at the political differences of yesterday, the system that Bwaka worked in. As a political scientist or political specialist, looking at a corrupt system. And this individual worked in this system for 12 years, and he's coming back to contest for the presidency. What are the differences from your political perspective, having a knowledge in political research methodology? What methodology can you use? Whether you can use empirical reasoning, it is of political reasoning to say point A, Bwaka is different. Point B, he's this, he's like this. That is what basically we want, not the side you're supporting or the side you don't support, but you're going for him and give us differences a bit. Yeah.
This is the country of Edward Umoblari. The conservative state in this country destroyed him. This is the country of Tokbana Tipote. This is the country of Emosoyo, Bremen Famule, Dutrongle Amazing, Tipote, Amazing, Josh Chair, Bremen Famule. These are people that ran for election in Liberia. What was the attitude of our people toward them? Even though, more often than not, elections are rigged, processes are rigged, even by the election commission itself. Despite the attitude of our people. So when we see our people moving in a certain direction, should we ignore them and insist that because we have the right answers to the issues of our country, they need to come and support us? Is that what you're generating in the debate? So in the counter-hegemonic discourse, we are clear that we can make compromises temporarily in the interest of our people.
So in short, what difference Bwaka brings to the table?
Those compromises should not serve personal interests at all costs. It will be opportunistic. We are against opportunism.
Mr. Professor Topa, I just want to welcome.
Did I understand that he wants to come back?
Okay.
Let us exhaust his concerns.
No, my question is simple, Liberian way. What difference Boakai will bring to the table, saying the other people that used to be corrupt and he worked with them, the other system was corrupt and he worked in our system. He's coming back to maintain the same presidency that, or to get a presidency that we said yesterday that, oh, the president controls everything. What a difference.
Number
As
one,
a political specialist.
Number one,
mm-hmm.
You can never predict with absolute certainty what a man or woman brings to the presidency because they become a different animal. Number two, the way to control that, therefore, is to sit on the table with them and design the future that you want for your country. This is what we are. I'm the head of the NDC, the National Democratic Coalition, the only social democratic party in Liberia. We believe in political freedom and economic justice. We have not officially declared a side which we are on in the 2023 elections. When the CPP were constructed, I said to some of their leaders that the CPP will break down. There was a reason why. So we sat on the table to build an agenda. And from our understanding of the decisions we are reaching, from the understanding, the conclusions we are reaching, it is clear that no one man or woman, when you become president, with our support or association, will control Liberia in the same old way. If you do, if you don't comply with the agenda we're controlling together, you will complain.
James, were your question answered? You want to have your second question before I want to welcome before we go on to the second question. Fadiga is also here. We have Professor Alara Topa on here tonight. He's our guest. So I will just ask James to ask his second question, and then we'll go on to Fadiga to ask his two questions. Professor Topa, go ahead, James. Good day.
Yeah, Professor, thank you so much. Again, you have been around for many years, and we read your history. You are somebody who stood up against bad practices in our country yesterday, and you went to prison for that. You risked your life, and thank God you are here. At least some of us, we were not born, but today we are privileged to see you. But with those years of experience, those years of work in advocacy in our political sector, what do you think Liberia need now? Liberians, what do you think Liberians need now in a president or in an administration that will change the system of corruption? What do you think we need now?
The institutional and policy framework or frameworks of this country need to be reviewed. When we question existing governments, the assumption is that we are against individuals. That thinking about us is wrong. The manners and functions of government need to be radically reviewed in this country. The law of reality is the law of change. When you control a society in which the people are dissatisfied, our struggle will continue until improvements take place. My problem, your audience is comprised in a majority of people who were not even born before January 1982. along with my colleagues, I was sentenced to the firing squad in January 1982 under a military dictatorship. Most of the people in your audience were not born before 1985. Along with my colleagues, I spent the whole of 1985 in Bel Air jail doing hard labor. We struggled in days when anybody could be killed by government and nobody could question you. Even in international political theory, sovereignty of governments was so complete that no other government or international agency had the right to interfere with the relationship between the subject and the administration of government. Unfortunately, even those who were children at the time we were struggling in this country, we used to call some of our big brother. When they take power, they misuse power. They abuse power. The same reason the military used to come to power, the same reason we used to oppose the military, because it took power, it started to misuse power, abuse power, and was engaged in rapid corruption. You understand me? So when you engage with that kind of an audience, the language of politics sometimes is less understood. Our behavior and attitude in society sometimes is less understood. So the education of our people is important, but it's difficult and hard. However, these people, when they have been educated, I can assure you, Liberia will never be the same. Liberia will change. And until a man like me goes back to my maker, we intensify the struggle for changing Liberia. Unfortunately, today, we are under a government administration by a populist, Mr. Weah, who has been liked by his people, given opportunity, elevated to the presidency, but theoretically speaking, he's part of the past. When you talk about methodology and theory, two of the broad trends that are emerging in Liberia is the question of fixing Liberia or rescuing Liberia. Sometimes I hear these political terms, I get laugh. Even though political terminologies are debatable, but to fix is to restore what was. We cannot allow ourselves to go back into restoring a conservative society as we have. And I'm making these provocative statements and substantive remarks because, yes, we are encouraging the debate. And from the side of the progressive community, thank you, Spoon. This is just the beginning.
Thank you.
Mr. Fadiga, you have two questions, please. And I would like to just take a moment to welcome Mr. Fagon. Mr. Fagon, thank you for joining us. I see that Councillor Lami Kwakwa is also here. I don't see his face, but he is also here. Can you hear me, Mr. Kwakwa? Councillor Kwakwa, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well, Dad. The reason why you're not seeing my face, I didn't even expect to be on the program tonight, but when I started listening and I heard the professor talk, I mean, I definitely got to put some questions to the professor, so I thought it was necessary to come on because I hear contradictions in what he's saying, so it's necessary to discuss with him.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. We'll go to Fadiga and then we'll come to you and then we'll go to Mr. Fagon. But I understand. I don't know if you want to speak about the reason why you can't show your face, or do you want me to speak about it? I want to protect your confidentiality. Mr.
I mean, let just remain at the fact that I can show my face.
Okay, fine. I respect that. That's okay. Okay, Mr. Fadiga, go ahead.
I think he lost the broom. But anyway, I will leave it at that. Welcome, Professor Larry Tokpa. I've been following you for a while. You probably do not remember me, but we touched on a lot of stuff. Some of those things I've talked about before. But since I would just take the last word that you said. Professor Topa, are you worried that the conservative movement of Liberia are trying to take over this country in this election? That means the political class, the class that dominated our politics for 150 years. Are you worried that they are trying to take this election this year?
No dominant political class leaves power on silver platter.
Can you expand on that, please?
That political class will be interested in continuing to control Liberia, controlling a country in which foreign companies steal wealth, bishops enjoy, and poor people suffer. It is possible that a serious political class can negotiate in the international political economy, in the policy of the nation, for the mutual benefit of investors and the country. Where you have a class of political politicians that are interested in enriching themselves much more than developing the country, there's a problem. So I ask you, who owns Liberia? I ask you, if it is true that we, the Liberians, are the owners of our country, then who owns the resources of Liberia? And then I ask you, if the Constitution gives power to the people, why is it that when a few persons are asked to manage that power, it should be used against the owners of the real owners of power? Why is it that when there's conflict over the distribution of resources between the powers that be and the people, those conflicts should always be resolved in the interest of the dominant class? We are all human beings. Why should we ignore the obvious? Basically, we need safe drinking water. We need electricity. We need food. We need for our children and grandchildren to go to school. We need good housing. We need roads. Our economy, our agriculture has to be developed. You have the diamond, you have the gold, you have the water, you have all the resources. Why is it that in the moral enclave, those who are given power are only concerned about their own self-development?
So, Topa, I think you misunderstood my question, and I want to, if you didn't understand it, can I rephrase my question? Well, there is this growing fear that that certain political class are trying to regain power, and that I have expressed that fear. Other Liberians that I've talked to on the ground, there's this air in Liberia that certain group want to regain power in Liberia. Is that your fear? You being a progressive that fought against one party rule. This is 2023.
I said that there is a certain group that wants to continue to be in power. I didn't say they want to regain power. If you allow me, therefore, to clarify the difference between the government, the regime, and the state.
I'm all ears.
Sorry?
I say I'm all ears.
I'm honored.
Thank you.
Every time you have a society as we have, bear in mind the fact that we experienced settler colonialism. It was black on black colonialism, which I try to clarify when we met as the American Cabral youth in Guinea-Bissau back in 1983. The ANC of South Africa was present, SWAPO was present. And I was saying that their colonialism was much easier to understand, to fight, and to support. But our kind of colonialism was settler colonialism. But these are some of the unanswered questions in Liberia. You take our people from the continent who have been so oppressed, and you bring them into a community that is not knowledgeable knowledgeable about. They have to protect themselves too. After all, when I talk about the state, you're talking about an agency that is abstract. The state appears and hangs over society because conflict is the citizen of the world. Anytime you have such a society where you have settler colonialism, what will happen? There will be differences and division among the people. And there will be attempt by those powers that impose colonialism to situate the minority or the majority for their own reasons. The state appears to reconcile the conflict between these people. Incidentally, the state, instead of being autonomous, is non-autonomous. The non-autonomy of the state, therefore, leads into a situation in which the state is positioned as an institution that supports one class above the others. The government administration, which is a central agency in the state, will therefore get involved in that crisis. Bear in mind the fact, as I've always said, when the economy is good, the politics is good. When the economy is bad, the politics is bad. When you have a government administration that is not investing in anything, their greater investment is to steal wealth. They are the ones that will send the police to go and brutalize the workers in Mitasteel, in Firestone. It is not Firestone's responsibility, it is the responsibility of the decadent state to bring down the workers when they rise. If you have a particular policy, economic and political, that is seen from one government to the other, that becomes the regime. My position is this, that we have had a regime tab that is not working. It is that system that we are fighting. We're not fighting particular governments. So the character of the state has to be reformed. That is why I suggested that the state must be deconstructed. There must be rethinking about the state, and the state must be reconstructed.
Let me narrow it down because we're trying to educate our audience here. You mentioned something about black on black colonialism, and that was something you guys fought for in the 80s. And the reason why I'm bringing out this question is no better person can answer some of those burning questions that my generation, a lot of people have been wanting to ask. Since 1980, we had a military regime who seemed to be plagued with indigenous. Knowing where our economy was in 1980 prior to the indigenous dominance, you can say that we took a down spiral through those times. Georgia happens to be another example. Some people will say that, oh yeah, you guys have taken over the country for the last since 1989, probably for this 2-3 years. What have changed? The country have gotten worse. What you stood for and what you fought for, is that something that you want to go back to? You think that it will be better for Liberia? If not, why? Why should we continue affording our people, one group of people, which are now considered the more popular group, the chance when it keeps seem to misusing those power that you're talking about?
You are almost raising the Congo country question. I do not subscribe to ethnicity. My concern, let the countrymen and Congo men sit on the same table and move Liberia forward. I could care less who is president or government or minister of any agency. That's your business. Let us create a program, an agenda for moving our country forward. George Weah is part of the past. Why are you raising his name? This is a man whose popularity has been used for the very wrong reasons. He's appreciated it, he's allowed it. He encourages his cherry squad. You must understand that it is easier to take power than to control power. You have a president who says that everybody must be responsible for their own security. In the first place, I'm not a politician. You contesting for political power, you control political power, you say you're not a politician. Is that a man who understands politics? He's part of the past. That is why I conflict his government, not CONFLCT as in conflict, but CONFLATE. I conflict his government with the past governments. He's the continuation of the regime. He symbolizes an administration whose domestic policy is stealing and whose foreign policy is begging. That is why he must leave.
Can you be more specific on those regimes? Can you put some name? Because a lot of the children are probably younger, they probably will not understand. Can you be more specific?
In varying degrees, these governments have been different. Look at Mr. Talbot, who did his best to bring all kinds of forms of development in this country. But he was overthrown for reason. But from the Talbot, to the Talbot, to the Elling, the Taylor, the Wia, I'm saying the institutional and policy framework on which they operated is flawed. They need to be rearranged. And I'm very specific about that.
Okay.
I said, Tobo, Do, Taylor, Elling, Wia, they're part of the same regime. So we need to rearrange, reconfigure everything. This is our task. In my generation, we fought. But we succeeded to encourage the building of democracy in theory. What we now require of your generation is to help us to intensify the fight for the building of democracy in practice. Without correct theory, practice is blind. But you can have all your theory in your head. The masses do not eat theory. In Liberia, we eat RICE, rice. Without practice, your theory will be absurd. There has to be a link between the two. We shall help the people of this country to build democracy by building rules, by improving agriculture, and that theory, we want to see it in practice. When you elevate a debate in such a way, because actually, I have to thank Spoon Talk, because the discourse has assumed some substance, some content. I do not want to be specific in calling names of people that have helped to elevate the debate. Liberia is changing, but change takes place in lips. It is not some development you see in a linear path that is gradual. Change takes place in lips. You have helped us. Technology has helped us. We struggle in days when we had no cell phone. Today you have the cell phone. We struggle in days when we used to write letter to the All African Student Union, World Federation of Democratic Youth, International Student. It would take 2-3 weeks for the letter to reach. 1 or 2 months for you to get a response. Today it is instant. That is why we are clear as progressives that the development of the social sciences, such as political dynamics, are interlinked, interwoven, interconnected, interrelated with the development of the natural sciences. We see everything in their interconnection. The killing in Liberia is too much blood for nothing. After more than 350,000, 400,000 people have been killed, do you have a government on young people that is allowing the continuation of killing of our people? Is this something we should not oppose? You have a government on young people in post-war Liberia that is allowing hunger to continue with us strategizing on how best to feed ourselves. We will have all the rain and all the forests. Are you saying that in post-war Liberia, government should not pay attention to the education of our children and grandchildren and the girls' children? I participated in the research on girls' education in Liberia, sponsored by the ECA, UN ECA, Economic Commission for Africa. It will surprise you to know what we found. But the issue, therefore, in my view, is leadership crisis. Because anytime that you want to attack a problem, you have to define the problem. Okay. It seems to me that leadership crisis is central. That is why we must go.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. I'm going to now move on to Councillor Parkour and then go to Mr. Fagon because Mr. Councillor Parkour came in before Mr. Fagon. So, Mr. Parkour, your 2 questions, please. Mr. Parkour, are you there?
Okay, go ahead. Is everybody hearing me? Is everybody hearing me? So,
yes,
Professor Tupa, welcome to the show. When I heard you were appearing, I actually wanted to be in studio, but for some reasons I cannot be there. And I was forced to come on while listening to the radio. I heard your response to Goody's question. And I'm not really sure I got you really clearly, so I want you to just clarify for me again so I can be sure that I heard what you said. Did you actually say that you're supporting Mr. Barker because he's popular and I want most of the Liberian people want? I want to just lay that premise clearly before I can bring my other questions in.
Number one, the institution that I had in the political class is the National Democratic Coalition, the NDC. We have not officially declared our support for any candidate in election 2023, but we shall do so. However, I can assure you that we are talking to many people in the political class. It is my thinking that in my individual conversations with Mr. Boakai and others, it is clear to me that he understands some of the issues I'm raising and that he will be prepared to address those concerns.
So, Professor, are you walking back your initial comment or did you not say what?
Councillor Parkour, we lost you. Councillor Parkour, we lost you. Good day. I
ask you.
Okay. You're coming in with echo and you're breaking in. Councillor, I'm going to move forward. Councillor Parkour, and have you come back in. All right.
I just want the professor to be clear. Yeah, you.
Yeah. Can you move away from where you are, or because you're breaking in, coming in? We can hear you, but it's not as perfect as you were before when you started the conversation.
Yeah, are you hearing me?
Now I can hear you really good.
I think there was a problem in the studio or something like that.
Yeah, stay where you are and ask your question. Go ahead. We're hearing you very well now.
Now, if you are speaking, your mic is muted, so I'm not hearing you.
I think it's on your end because everybody on set is hearing me. Councillor, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on until the councillor can come back. Mr. Fagon, can you please ask your 2 questions?
Well, thank you. And let me say good evening to our learned Professor Alaric Tupa. Good evening to my friend and brother Al-Hussein Fadiga. And good evening to Council Lani Bagway. Council, first of all, let me express my thanks and appreciation to you for the many battles that you have fought and the scars you bear today, as well as the knowledge you have decided to impart into our people. And let me thank you again for continuing the struggle with our young generation to ensure that you do not leave this earth without leaving them a place where they can continue from. I want to say a big thank you to you, your family, your darling wife, your daughter, and everybody, because it took their sacrifice too to allow you to be out in the trenches and in the battlefield as we go through all these difficult times. You said, and I quote, "Why should we overlook the obvious?" Those were your words, citing the fact that regime after regime, it is the same old, same old. You said, why do we have all of our gold and diamonds and what have you, all of the resources, good rain and everything, but yet we languish in an impoverished society? Having said that, before I ask my two questions, let me lay the premise quickly in 30 seconds. Western cluster, where I come from in the Bomi, Kitmau, and Bapolu area, which is the Western region, we saw our resources gambled. And then later on, 49% of what is today the Western Cluster Company was sold to Western Cluster, 49%. We have been looking for the 51% and the owners of the 51%. Till this day and this minute, we cannot find who owns the 51% of our resources, Bapolu, Kitma, and Bonin. I remind you that just yesterday, a diamond worth over $2 million over the last 2 weeks was found in Bapolu. And just yesterday, when the NSA took over the diamonds, the diamond are worth over $2 million, the people went to the home of the president to inform him through protests that our diamond was stolen from us by your national security agency, worth over $2 million. They were brutally beaten, most of them brutalized and whisked off just yesterday. When they don't even have 100,000 United States dollars, $2 million, a diamond over $2 million was just taken away from them. Senior Comrade Larry Tupa, it is now clear that the Prime African Capital Group was responsible for majority of what we see, the failed concessional agreements or investments and what have you. Only for us to go and ask, it's like they're chasing us around to make sure that we're disciplined and not talk about the millions of dollars, including Buchanan Renewables, that over $200 million was squandered in. They are all on the backlogs. Here is my question to you. We're looking forward to a new regime. I make no apology for the support of Honorable Joseph Boakai. As the progressives, you have always, all of you, have always fought for a better Liberia. Today, I want to ask you, millions of Liberians are listening. You have always fought. What is your new battle? And who are those, or what are you fighting against? And if so, do you have a battle? And if so, who are those you're fighting against? And what is it that you are fighting against today? That is my first question. I said you have always fought.
It's muted.
And you are continuing the battle. Owing to all these things, whether corruption, extrajudicial killings, the proliferation of drug cartels, and the destruction of our youth by drugs. What happens to be your battles today?
As I said earlier, anytime that you want to address a particular issue, it is important that you define the problem. In problem definition, answers can be elusive, or there may be unanswered questions. Therefore, we are convinced that the character of the regime theft that has continued to exist in Liberia must be dismissed. This regime theft is later represented by Mr. Josh Weah, the footballer, We appreciate him as an individual artist that helped to elevate the beauty of sports. But as a political leader, it is clear to all of us now that he's killing Liberia. That is why he must go. So our battle, as we define today, is a leadership crisis that can be resolved step by step. Number one, we must go. Number two, we have to collectively agree on our agenda for national renewal. The state has a particular character in Liberia that is problematic. I've said that the policy of the regime that we have from government to government domestically is stealing. So what happened recently is just the stealing of the wealth of our country, of our people. But because many do know the assumption of national leadership provides a prerogative, a latitude in which you steal so much. The struggle for power is so intense that it is a life and death struggle. That is why even those of us who have fought for democracy are afraid that Mr. We are knowing that he's not the choice of the people anymore, is going to attempt to introduce violence into our politics. There may be freedom of movement. There may be freedom of association. But that is not enough. There has to be the honest counting of ballots. This is where the interference is going to come most. Suppose for the Election Commission, it's now questionable. If you investigate the thinking about the Election Commission, about the freeness and fairness of this coming election, you understand that the government is not interested in any free and fair election. The integrity of the ballot has to be protected by us. Because since the executive branch of government provides opportunity for stealing so much, the competition for power has become a life and death struggle in this country. We have to resolve that by ensuring that when our people stay online and vote, their votes must be transformed into improvement into the quality of life that they live. This is our issue.
Your second question, Mr. Fagon, and then we're going to go back to Councillor Pakor, and then Miss Muna Fahad, welcome to the show. Then you will ask your question. Thank you.
Well, my second question is simple. How would you describe the current political atmosphere in the country? And my question is born out of the fact that you now see people confessing to bringing arms into the country, huge amount of drugs in huge quantity, violence from all sectors, either the vice president sending talks to attack the former political leader of the MDR, or Jefferson Koji threatening sitting government ministers, or that people are flogged for their beliefs. And so because of that, I'm inclined to ask you, as a professor of political science, how would you describe the current political climate in the country for the benefit of those that are living outside the country?
The state in our country today has been privatized. The government has been privatized. The state in our country today has been criminalized. The government has been criminalized. But we fought war. Those who saw war in Liberia will never want for war to come back to our country. However, the government is so insensitive that it is encouraging such an atmosphere, which is wrong, which is bad. Because there are veterans on all sides No particular agency or political institution in Liberia can pretend they can fight war and just win that war. When you have a government that presides over a post-war country and that insists on stealing, whereby we know that in real good political systems, the leader must eat last. But when you have a government where the leader wants to eat first, you have a government that controls the executive control, in which the executive branch controls the legislature and the judiciary. That is not democracy. That is authoritarianism. Because the judiciary and the legislature operate in a similar jurisdiction as the executive branch of government. Where are the men and women of Liberia who have been elected by their people in the counties and the districts of our country that are allowing the local government board to control them with our national resources? It is a shame. Beyond that, you have a government that is trying its best to break down institutions. More than I am, you are very aware that the government wants to remove the tenure from the integrity institutions. When that happens, when you break down institutions, you atomize society. You break society down into its smallest pieces and remove organizations from between the individual and the government. So how can you move us from dictatorship, from autocracy, from authoritarianism to totalitarianism? That is why I say that those who want to restore that kind of system are conservatives. And we'll fight them. We'll continue to fight them. His government is part of the past. It's time for him to begin to pack to exit the mansion. He's killing democracy. He's killing our people. He's brought disgrace to Liberia in the African continent. Why is it that Liberia, that was respected by West Africa, Africa and the world, is a laughing stock today? It would be better for me to die than to see this. We have to fight. We have to go as a point of departure. That is not all. I thought we are oneness. That is why I continue to say that we need a national agenda to clarify some of the concerns that we have. The so-called Contra-Congo question can be addressed just through a national agenda in which everybody respects each other, where there's honesty, where there's mutual reinforcement of the endeavors to build country. So people drawing ethnicity, religion. Of course, religiosity is always there. But where is the Christian principles around which Liberia was built? Shall we look to Mr. Jesus Christ for our ulterior governance? Where is the preacher? But the introduction of religion in politics is not new, because the masses of our people who have been invited to popularly participate in our democracy are religious-minded. So you cajole them, you use them, you confuse them, you fool them, pretend that you're a religious man. Anybody can quote the Bible. Anybody can study the Bible and teach the Bible. But your practice, love your neighbors as yourself. This is lacking. This is where we are in this country. from dust to dust, arches to arches. Why is it that a certain group of people feel that they're better than others in this country? Who are they? The struggle continues.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Councillor Pakor. If we can hear you clearly, could you finish your questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I want to it will be cool for the professor to tell us whether he was walking back his first answer to James Goody's question, because he said that he supports Mr. Barker because Mr. Barker is popular and most of the Liberian people want him. So are you walking back that statement? Then I have to follow up to that.
Can somebody
Professor,
please explain that question, because I'm not hearing him well?
He is asking if you are walking back your answer to James Gooday's question, which says that you are supporting Buckeye because he is popular.
and that the people want him.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm not interested in his question. Next question, please.
Okay, so the professor is supposed to be a leader and not a follower. So if the professor cannot guide the public discourse and he says because the people are following somewhere, so he will go there, that's extremely disappointing. My next question to the professor is that you appear to have said that this country needs a root and branch transformation. If that's the case, how long do you think that root and branch transformation will take to be instituted in Liberia, to have Liberia transformed? How many years? Is it 4 years, 6 years, 2 years, 12 years? How long do you think that kind of generational change will take to start seeing fruits?
That I cannot predict with absolute certainty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, but you're the political theorist now. So if you think you've diagnosed the problem, that the country has a root and branch problem that has to be tackled, and then you cannot say whether it will take 6 years to start solving those problems, whether it will take a generation, whether it will take 12 years, because the answer to that question will bear upon your decision to support a particular person. Because if you think it's short term, then you will support short term agendas. If you think it's long term, you obviously go for long term agendas. So you, the political theorist, you say you're more theoretical. So if you're more theoretical, you've diagnosed the problem. What's the solution? Is it a short term solution or a long term solution?
Therefore, do you always believe what you hear or read? I do not believe in the romanticization of the debate. We're dealing with reality. So, economically, if you did regression analysis and predict a trend, you might establish timelines and what have you. You want to come back to me tomorrow and say, you say in 5 or 10 years' time, Liberia is going to be better. It is not better now. Let us take it step by step. We must go. And then we insist on working on the agenda for the rearrangement of the
Professor, I would Professor, what you're saying reminds me of a conversation I had with Dr. Patrick Sayer back in 1996. Dr. Sayer said briefly, let me just say briefly what Dr. Sayer said. He said when the war started in Liberia, they had this ACDL, and the MPFL came to the US and convened a meeting and asked for their support. So Dr. Sayer, and other people asked the MPFL, what's the governing agenda? And they said, let's win the war, then we decide how to govern. And they had a split. So you're saying the same thing. You're saying it's all about just removing and then later they start discussing what to do. How can you say that, Professor? How can you say that?
That's inaccurate. You are misquoting me.
But what are you saying? That's what you're saying.
I'm saying, on the one hand, it is very difficult to enter bad governments and change them from inside. That on the other hand, therefore, we are on the table discussing with various sides on the way forward. Depending on the outcome of our conversation, we shall declare our support for 2023.
But in the meantime, you've already told me on that.
As progressives and radicals, it's clear to us we should not support conservatism. The conservative regime, as represented by Mr. Weah, that ownership mentality, we will not support.
Thank you, Councillor Paco. I'm going to go to Miss Mona Faha. Mona, your 2 questions, please. We can't hear you, Mona. We can't hear you. Unmute yourself. Okay. Speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, Prof. Alaric Tokpa, I'm a fan of yours. I've listened to you and several times, and I graduated from the University of Liberia. I was a classmate of Samuel Tue, McGill, Akara's Gray. We all sat under the tree over and over, and we thought we were going to be the generation that was going to change Liberia. And when we came to the place where Weah was decided to be the president, I refused to join them because I said that there is no way Weah could change Liberia. I didn't see any leadership ability or any leadership skills in him. And I was young and I knew very well he couldn't do it, and I was right. As a professor, you have so many people looking up to you. You mentioned that Liberia needs an agenda that will cause its renewal and an agenda. And like Lamil, Councillor Paco said, you have all this agenda, you have all these things, but our problem is implementation. Implementation, executing, and prosecuting. If somebody, because for example, if you have a room full of money and you put people in there, there is no way they will sit and not try to steal or not steal if there's no measures put in place to stop them from stealing. And if they do steal, if there's no measure to prosecute, of course they're going to continue stealing. So our problem is not who's in charge. Our problem is who's going to implement. So my question to you as a professor, we have an election that is coming up. We have almost 22 candidates that are running. Who, sir, will you look at, will you point to and say, I think that person is capable of bringing some kind of system in place that will be able to implement whatever policy, because CDC has the PAPD and we know they didn't implement now one on the PAPD agenda. But who do you think is going to be that person in this? Forget, because I just heard you saying, oh, let's just get Weah out. We can't be jumping from frying pan and be jumping into fire just because we want to get Weah out. Then we'll go to elect another one again, that's going to cause another problem for the next 6 years. So who out of the 22 candidates do you think at least will be able to implement some of these policies and be able to execute them and be able to prosecute if people steal? Who do you think, sir?
In the year 2017, the political institution that I had supported Mr. Boakai. But that was after about a year of debate, serious debate in which he was engaged considerably. So we're not just interested in revolving around a man or woman that could take power and give jobs to people. We've been in this country without jobs. That's not our issue. And some of us are old now enough to continue to bear the burden. But the burden of history is not so easily carried by any individual as a personality. It doesn't matter to me whether you're a reformist or a radical. No one group can easily manage and carry Liberia forward today. So extremism is dangerous. Of course, I'm on the radical side. There's no question about that. Even religiosity, I'm a radical Christian. There's no question about that. I follow the order of Mr. Jesus Christ Melchizedek. However, it is clear to us that we are in a complex emergency as has been presented to us in post-war Liberia. Under the circumstance, we have to appreciate the fact that popular participation of our people, which we have encouraged in the politics, is good, but it presents its own problems. Philosophically, theism is our burden. You can't lead from behind. You have to lead from the front. But the alignment with our people is still a challenge. You intellectuals on Spoon Talk, you are thinking and rethinking on the basis of which you take your action and get experience. The people at first get experience before they get consciousness. So how will you approach a coincidence with the people that are acting, getting experience before consciousness, when you, conscious people, are taking action based on your consciousness and getting experience? Between these contradictory possibilities, where is the room for the excluded that should emerge? That is why when Albert Einstein was asked by his students that the scientists have discovered the structure of the atom, Nagasaki and Hiroshima or something in Japan, when a bomb has been dropped, why is it the politician is unable to stop the atom from destroying the human race? And Einstein provided us an answer and analysis that is profound. But let's know. He said, politics is harder than physics.
Mona, your second question, please.
Yeah, I heard you say that not one group is going to be able to change Liberia. But when we look at Rwanda, we see Paul Kagame is doing extremely well in Liberia, in Nigeria, in Rwanda. We look at Ghana. There was a turning point in Ghana where when Gerald Rawlings took over, the entire system in Ghana changed. Because once upon a time, Liberia was like far better than Ghana until Gerald Rawlings took over and turned things around. When you look at Obama, he took over an economy that was an inflation. It was going really, really bad, and he turned things around. What Liberia is looking at and looking for right now is somebody who's going to turn things around. Because I've heard, like you just rightly said previously, you said the Tokmo, the Elio, the Wiao, the Chancellor, everybody came and they didn't do very well. And then you said Talbot. Who do you think is going to be our next Talbot? We have 22 candidates. Who do you think is going to be our next Talbot that's going to turn and change things around for Liberia? That's who we are looking for right now.
I was in Ghana on a Gerald Rawlings as a student of the University of Ghana. I was in the United States during the existence of Obama. Partly I was in South Africa under Nelson Mandela. And I know that in Liberia, the leadership sets the trend. I did not suggest that no one person can change Liberia. I was suggesting that even if one person or party takes power, you are well advised to embrace all the others to move Liberia forward.
Yeah.
In line with what you have suggested, therefore, I said there's a leadership crisis that needs to be resolved. Who is the current leader of Liberia? That means that we are. Those of us who believe in Christianity do know that any time that God gives a Melewia opportunity that is being misused, He allows you to rise to the highest level so that your fall will become a lesson for everybody to see. I've said that we supported Mr. Bwaka in 2017. And the reason is that we sat down on the table with him, analyzed the Liberian problem. And we believe that he understands that Liberia is on the wrong road. It was clear to me by 2005, when I returned home from the United States, that Liberia was in a dilemma. In my homecoming address, which was delivered at Memorial City Hall, I announced that Liberia had been given two ugly roads to follow, none of which were desirable. Those persons who did not understand me then, and that is the problem.
Which year was that? Who are the two ugly roads?
Before you arrived, I said, I don't let it go into too much detail. I follow broad trends. But yes, at the elections between Eli and Weah, I said Liberia had been given two ugly roads to follow, none of which were desirable, and that therefore Liberia was in a dilemma. Many people said to me, please be careful. You were in jail. Ellen came to jail. I said, yes. But went to jail for different reasons. We have been taken from Post Tucker to Bel Air, brought by the Post Tucker and the brought Ellen in. She fought, she tried. And I'm glad that Ellen played the role she played in order to elevate the standing of women in Liberian African politics and world politics. I'm so very happy about that. I pray that before I go back to my maker, my book on women leadership will be polished. Even the stage that our book has reached now, if I die before it is published, my family will publish it. Or the students who have duty to provide theoretical tools will publish that book. You see, we have a tendency in Liberia to pay attention more to problems than to issues. All the problems that we are afraid of, we're describing, can be subsumed on an issue, which I think today is leadership crisis. Let us pay attention to resolving that leadership crisis, and we'll make advance. Why? When we address that, then we can ask the question after we are what next.
Okay, Professor Tokpa, it's my time now. You said that in 2017 you supported Vice President Boakai. Can you help us understand what is it that impressed you in 2017 when you met him that led you to support him?
He, firstly, continued to insist that the state in Liberia was not constructed to succeed. With that understanding, it was clear to us that he would appreciate the deconstruction of that state. As his words, think Liberia, love Liberia, build Liberia, he will understand the need to rethink that state, and therefore the need to reconstruct that state. On the question of the deconstruction of the Liberian state, the rethinking of the state and reconstruction of the state, where it's incapable. He and his current squad, but do understand and believe that there are many good people in our government, but they cannot function as they ought to because of his devices. That therefore, on the question of the reconstruction of the state, he and his current squad are unqualified, unqualifiable, and hereby disqualified.
My second question, Professor Tokpa, what do you make of the fact that Vice President Boakai was second in command during Ellen's government, and that it seems like the state couldn't be reconstructed at that time? What do you make of that?
It is understood by now that he has severe limitations, as vice presidents in Liberia do have.
Do you care to tell us some of the limitations?
The presidency is all-powerful. The vice president in that kind of a system is as powerful as the president may wish. Presiding over conversation in the Senate, casting vote when it is time, is good power, but comparatively limited. So, a vice president that is not giving assignment to demonstrate worth under a particular president may not be efficient and effective.
Colleagues, can I just ask one more question, please? I beg you guys. So, Mr. Tokpa, would you agree with me that the role of the vice presidency in other parts of the world have changed significantly, even though the constitution may mimic our constitution in Liberia, such as the United States, that the vice president has different roles to play, including making recommendations and giving feedback to the president?
It is that conservatism in Liberian politics they want to attack and address.
So you will be recommending that system be one of the systems that should be deconstructed?
In the first place, there is need for the review of our constitution. Constitutionalism is a requirement for our progress in Liberia. As I said earlier, there will be a need for the review of the mandate and functions of government institutions. There will be a need to take a new look at the policy and institutional framework that preside over our bureaucracy.
Thank you. I will then go back to Fariga. Fariga, your two questions, please.
No, if I just follow up on the constitutional issue the professor just raised, Can I just start off on the constitutional issue?
Wait, Mr. Councillor Parker, do you want to take 2 minutes from Fadiga? Fadiga, are you able to give him your 1 minute at least, or?
I'll give it to the man. I mean, the people in take power here, they already.
Yeah, so the thing is that no, it's not issue of jumping. Like the professor raised a constitutional issue, and I think it worth a little bit more interrogation.
Go ahead, Lami. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so when a professor is talking about revisiting our constitution to local government works, I mean, what is he actually saying? Because the problem, in my view, the problem is not basically with the constitution per se, because the constitution provides the separation of powers. The problem has been with the executive branch of government, especially the presidency, taking on powers that it doesn't have legally. That has been the issue. And that's a constitutional review process. That's a process of deconstructing that office by virtue of the person who sits there. And also it's showing that the legislature, takes back the power that the constitution gives it over the other branches of government. But when we're talking constitutional reform, the things that really needed basically would be the 10 years of office and probably maybe the abolishment of the vice presidential office. Because the professor just said the vice president does nothing. So it's a draw on the taxpayers, it's a waste of everybody's time. So if you are saying that somebody is vice president and they don't do anything, so don't hold them accountable for things that go wrong during that tenure, then you should be advocating for the abolishment of that office because that office is vestigial. We don't need a vestigial organ in our governance system. So let me just tell us whether what he means by the constitutional reform process with respect to governance, because I mean that's not where the problem is. If you read the constitution is clear as to what the legislature does, what the executive does, what the judiciary does. The problem with taking on power that is not belonging to you is a problem that can be addressed by dealing with the occupants of the office. So let the professor just expand on that a little bit.
The professor just told you there's need for a review
Mr. Fagon,
of the Constitution.
Mr. Fagon, please. The
Madam
question
Moderator, you need to tell
the
professor a review.
Order on the show, please, Mr. Fagon. The question was directed to the.
You want to talk for the professor? You the professor and you want to talk for him?
We got time here. It's summertime. The professor just said that there should be a review of the Constitution.
Fagon.
Mr.
Fagon, that's the moderator on this show.
Mute me.
Go ahead, mute me. Stanton will come for you.
All right, go ahead.
I think we are having a healthy conversation in which we should tolerate each other. Except if you call me to gang up against me, which I don't think is the case. So, implementation is a problem in a policy process. When you research a problem on an issue and you formulate a program or a project you need to implement, you need to evaluate in order to determine whether or not the outcome was good, whether or not you had challenges that need to be addressed. This is lacking. In addition, why is it that the Constitution is very clear on some matters that are not being considered by our governments? Mayors ought to be elected, but they are appointed. Chiefs ought to be elected, but they are appointed. We have the right to bring down a legislator or a president that is ineffective, inefficient, arrogant. In theory. In practice, it's not working. There's much that we need to look at. In our Constitution, concerning issues of the strict interpretation, the philosophical interpretation of our Constitution and the implementation of the Constitution. But there are cultural practices sometimes that override constitutional provisions. However, the Constitution is not sacrosanct. It was made to serve human beings. If the interest that it was made to serve cannot be served, we have to take a new look at our Constitution. People in Liberia with this entitlement mentality pretend that they are superhumans. They are endowed with particular capacities to take what belongs to all of us. But in actual fact, those are human beings that are sophisticated rogues. They are murderers. They are killers. They kill individual people and they kill our democracy. Government that may not be perfect, but a system of government that has been devised by human ingenuity to allow for calm and peace. But they use their prerogatives to bring harm and chaos to society. As I said earlier, by privatizing and criminalizing the state. By circumventing the Constitution, which is our governing instrument. Why is it that when we have witnessed a war that took away more than 400,000 lives, why is it that we who are the signatories to the Accra Peace Accord and moral guarantors of the peace in Liberia should be required to subordinate ourselves to a wicked administration, a government that is weakly motivated? It's a government that is breaking down all the institutions that should stand between government and the people and protect the people. I look forward to the opportunity of coming back here in the near future to clarify some of the issues of concern. I represent my community, the poor and oppressed people of Liberia. I represent a social democratic tendency, of which I'm a leader in the progressive community in Liberia. And we are clear about where we stand. And our position will be clarified more and more in the coming months.
Thank you, Professor Topa. Can you just allow us to just do one question per panelist, and then we'll...
I get my two questions.
It sounds like are you okay with entertaining?
I wave my question to you, Fadiga.
Tonight,
if I
you have the time tonight,
I'm
available for all your questions.
Okay, let's just do another like 15 minutes, and then we'll go to the phone lines if we can, and then do our closing reflections. Okay, go ahead, Fadiga.
Thank you, Professor. I've listened to a lot of buzzwords, and I enjoy listening to your political philosophy. But I'm one of those people that prefer specifics. And I listened to, you said once that George Weah was imposed on the Liberian people. You just said a few minutes ago that we need to circumvent the Constitution. I don't know how you're going to achieve that, but I want you to think on that when I get to my question. Look,
my information. No, I said that the Constitution is being circumvented.
Oh, it's being circumvented.
It is being circumvented.
All right. Then I missed, but I did hear you say Weah was imposed on the Liberian people. Did I hear you right? Because I wrote it down. You said Weah was imposed.
Do you believe that the counting of votes in the 2017 election was honest?
I do not.
Thank you.
So if he was imposed, I want to come to who and who are those people that you, because you just brush over it. I just don't want it to remain out there that because I have my own idea on who are those people.
Yes, he was imposed by those that want to continue to control Liberia against the interests of the poor and oppressed people who I represent.
Professor Tokpa, you did condemn, I think, 3 or 4 regimes. You went back as far as Todman, came to Todber. Well, you dance around Todber a little bit. I think you gave me a pass back there based on your own explanation. Then you went to Doe, Taylor, Ellen, and Weah. So it seems to have condemned those regime. You fought with a progressive group that fought against cultural suppression, socio-economic disparity, the lack of inclusiveness in governance. You fought against those things. Some people may say that a progressive failed us because everything that you fought against, you end up supporting a regime which came in as Samuel Kayando. A lot of you work in that government, it ended up being a failure. Now we have George Weah, who is a direct beneficiary of things that you and your group fought for. Now you're saying that George Weah is imposed on us. Who are those people that impose Weah on us? I want you to be more specific. And should we fear them in this election, 2023?
I already answered your question.
Can you please rephrase it? I probably cannot remember.
I said those who are insisting on continuing to control Liberia are the ones that impose Weah.
I don't know those people.
He represents.
Who are those?
Who are those?
I've said to you that you should be careful in the discourse. When you attribute problems to personalities and individuals, then you have not correctly defined the Liberian problem.
Mr. Tukpa, with all due respect, we have Bako Matthew, we have Alexa Tukpa, Dr. Tukpa Natipote, we have Dr. Amos Sawyer. We have names. I mean, I was not old enough for some of those instances, but we read some of those books and literature on things that you, Mr. Professor Tukpa, did. So we can put name and faces to some of the things that you guys fought for. So we're not just dreaming of things and making believe. So as we speak to our audience, can you give her 2 names, 2 or 3 names?
If you insist on individualizing the conversation,
individualizing.
Continue.
Go ahead. I'll listen.
Can you list the number of people that function better than Amos Sawyer or Bako Matthew, for example, in the positions that they held? Can you give us a list of people that function better than Bema Famule when he served as education minister in Liberia or foreign minister? Progressives are human beings. Nobody is born as a progressive. But the progressive leaders of this country have distinguished themselves as people who can bring respect to country. Please tell me, comparatively therefore, who you have on mind that function better than them in their particular capacities.
My question was,
I was head of the political science department at the University of Liberia. Tell me, or research it, which man or woman has been head of that department and function better than me. I'm not personalizing. The progressive community believes in collectivity, not individualism. Meanwhile, we believe in working around an agenda. I said to you that to enter a reactionary or backward or conservative government changing from inside is hard. That therefore, the way forward is to sit down on the table that the way, as Buckminster has taught us, to predict the future is to design it yourself.
The reason why I'm insisting on identifying those individuals that impose President Weah out, they are not just sitting with their arms folded. These people are working to keep the status quo. Remember, they are equally powerful. How can we address the problem? We cannot even identify who those people are.
There's nobody.
Can we have the next question, please?
Okay.
All right. My next question. We'll leave it at that. Fair enough. My next question. We have 2017, 2023, few months to the election. We have a minefield of different political, we call it proliferation of political parties. I don't know who you support right now. Looking at our political climate, you said that you are in tune to the voice of the people. Right now, based on your own perspective, who do you feel the Liberian people are gearing towards or have in mind, using your own political lens right now?
You said that there are proliferation of parties. Too many political parties on the horizon in the field. Why? It is the failure of the political class, the ineffectiveness and inefficiency of political leaders that is giving rise to this phenomenal growth of political parties in Liberia. It is the failure of the political class that is confusing our people and transforming the political arena into a platform for antagonistic relationships, a conflict type that has been transformed into a life and death struggle. When you study the threat in this society, of course, everybody knows that Mr. Bwaka is being eyed very seriously, provided that there will be the honest counting of ballots, provided that the integrity of the ballot will be respected and regarded and preserved.
Thank you. My question is answered.
Okay, Mr. Fagon, do you have questions, or you gave your time to Fadiga?
You said we should go ahead, so we're going ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
I know everyone can be saying, oh, she ready to give that at 6 o'clock. After 6, though, honestly, and it's summertime here. But anyway, Professor, my question would be more or less a lecture of history to a new class of people who believe that they have monopoly over violence. And we've seen that over the last few days, weeks, months, and years. We've seen regimes come and go, especially those whom you fought against, whether it was Talbot, whether it was Doe, whether it was Taylor. What advice? You've seen in recent time the State Department report, extrajudicial killings, proliferation of drugs, rampant corruption, so forth and so on. What advice would you give to President Weah and his cheering squad, as well as those seeking to maintain him or the one they're hoping to replace him? What advice would you give to them in terms of holding free, fair, and democratic elections free of violence. I want you to speak to them from a historical perspective so that we don't see a repeat of what has happened in the past when the votes of the people are compromised by a few fingerful of pseudo-political technocrats. I respectfully submit on the question.
We have seen the rise and fall of popular figures in Africa. We have seen the rise and fall of popular figures in Liberia. The government of George Weah and Weah's cheering squad will be well advised to allow for free and fair elections in Liberia during October 2033. We know that no administration leaves power easily because the assumption is that investment in government or the holding of government presidency is a lucrative business. However, the people of this country have suffered too much and they want change in their circumstances. Different circumstances do lead to different forms of mobilization. Be not deceived. If the people of Liberia are pushed to the wall, they will not drink the Atlantic Ocean. They will fight back. If the Weah government and the cheering squad of the Weah government does not conform to the requirements in our constitution, the requirements of our growing democracy for peaceful transfer of power, Weah may come down worse than Samuel Doe. And when I say that, people assume that, oh, will Weah be killed? He may not be killed because death is not the worst thing that can happen to a man. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go on to Muna. Miss Muna Fahad. Muna, your question, please.
Yeah. Prof, it was good having you here today. You just mentioned that the people of Liberia want change. And like I predicted, 2011 or 2017, that we could not bring the change that Liberia seek or sought after. I personally also think that Boyka cannot bring that change. So my question to you is, what do you think of Mr. Cummins?
I met Cummins several times. One in his office, another time in my office, where I informed him that the CPP was going to break down. I said to Cummins that we're a coalition ourselves and that the organized were inviting us. However, there was the business for cooperation. But we needed conversation around that. They never took interest in that. I said to him at the time, as I said to Mr. Ben Uri, that we do not look for political family in tears. God bless you, Mandela.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. No further questions.
Okay. If you guys please allow me to ask one more question, and then we'll have the professor give his closing comments, and then we will reflect on what we heard today. Is that okay with you guys? Okay. Thank you. Professor, I heard you mention that the presidential candidates often speak in theoretical terms. What practical and action-oriented plan would you recommend to address the perpetuation of divisiveness in our country?
Again, please.
I heard you say that many of the presidential candidates tend to speak in theoretical terms. Okay, you give an example about, how they speak. My question to you is, can you give us some recommendations in practical, action-oriented way to address the issue of perpetuating divisiveness in our country?
It must be clear to us in the programs and policies of presidential candidates and serious parties that the national question in Liberia ought to be addressed. On the other hand, rather than exclusively depending on what presidential candidates tell us, there's need for we the people, and I speak for my community, the poor and oppressed people, we need to develop our own agenda as well and insist on implementation of such agenda. But such an agenda has to be made available before the elections so that reasonably a president who is elected will comply or complain. Because we have our issues as well. It must be brought to their attention. It should not be left to their prerogatives or to do that constitutional review and insist on the relationship of constitutional provisions with the implementation of the Constitution. The arrogance of the presidency is just too much. It means, therefore, that we have to assign ourselves the responsibility of ensuring that there is a national agenda for progress. We, the Social Democrats in the progressive community, are organizing a National Democratic Front at the national and county levels, and we develop an agenda for the attention of anybody who will become president in this country.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask the professor to do his closing for us. And
no. That is unacceptable. No. We can't. No. You cannot sit down home and enjoy the whole discourse because he didn't want to be just No. He talked popcorn and talked juice. You the man was talking. He enjoyed everything. I mean, he said, "Look, the tea is so sweet." Now he finished. We are about to get closing comment. He don't want it to end.
I'm not asking questions. I just want one request from the professor. Professor, thank you very much. Listen, I was hoping to be part of the conversation today.
Okay.
I had to leave from the office. It's been a long day. I want to say thank you for appearing on Spoon. I didn't know. Yes, indeed. There's a reason why they say you're a professor, Larry Tupa. I hope we can have you next week Friday, if you can. I hope you brought a different dimension to the discussion. All right? You are now bringing opposition and imposition together. I want to appreciate you tonight for appearing on Spoon. And I hope you can have the time when you can. We will make transportation available, whatever necessary, that you appear on Spoon and educate and help our young men and women that have the mindset to be militant, that you can demilitarize the mind and direct our focus for this upcoming election. I want to appreciate you, and I say thank you, man. That was brilliant. That was good. And I wish you all the best, and thank you for all your help. No matter your position right now in this election, I want to say Liberian have gained something from your presentation tonight. Thank you a lot, and I appreciate you. That's all, Fago.
Just so you know, the professor will appear on my opening show. Not here again. This place too. Yeah. Every day they want to elevate the conversation. The professor will be on a much.
But give the professor a chance to talk.
I'm protecting the professor from you.
Man, that was good.
Yeah, it was good, man. It was a class.
I have.
No, but Councilor Paco, thank you. Let me, Councilor Paco, I beg to leave Mona, I said thank you for coming also. And guys, have a great day. Professor
Yeah,
Larry,
it's late in Liberia.
Larry Tokwa, we're going to talk later. Thank you a lot. I appreciate your appearance. Thanks.
Professor Parker, I'm so sorry we're ending the show. I know you want to ask your question, but I understand that the professor will be back sometime soon.
Yeah, but Satan invited the professor back. He invited the professor back on Friday. That's my hosting day. I should be providing, making that invitation, not him. So I don't know why he would
You and Stanton decide that,
invite the
please.
professor.
You and Stanton take that in the chat room and make that decision, okay? I beg you.
Okay.
At this moment.
Okay, but anyway, I'll keep my question for whenever he comes back.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You know, Professor Topa, we appreciate you being on Spoon today. Thank you so much for the way that you responded to many of our questions. I'd like to give you the time right now to just do your closing comments, your closing thoughts, and then we will just kind of reflect on what we heard.
I want to renew my thanks for the invitation. And to say that we, the leaders in the political class in Liberia, need to continue to talk to each other and to ourselves. But as a way forward, out of love for our native homeland, Liberia, we need to de-school our country and re-school the country. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are going to just actually, can we go to the phone lines? And studio, can you guys just kind of assist Professor Topa with leaving us, please? Okay. All right. Good. Okay. We'll see if who's on. Yakasi, you want to come? Let's go to the phone lines and then we'll give some reflective thoughts about what we heard today from the professor. Yakasi? Yakasi Zobe. Yeah, Yakasi. Can we just take about maybe 6 calls from Liberia, just asking Liberians their thoughts about what Professor Larry Tukwa said today?
Okay. So the numbers are 0777 771 075, 0777 771 075, 0555 101075, 0777 771 075, 101075. Let's talk to this person. Hello, your name and where you join us from? Hello?
This is Jefferson President calling from Nigeria. About how we could be prepared and still be committed.
Let's hear you.
You hear me?
Yeah, you live. Let's hear you.
Yeah, I will listen to the professor there and make some comments concerning the president and the government.
Okay, you've got to be audible.
Yeah, I think what I want to say tonight, no more election is coming here. Many people come present themselves to be the good people. So Liberia, no people see Liberia to see the other thing. When our election is coming, they will come, bring hands, and they will say they are the good people. But what I want to say tonight is that professor is a joker.
Okay, thanks for calling. Let's talk to another person.
Hello.
Hello, your name and where you join us from?
I'm Jacob Bernard speaking from the two Moses country.
Let's hear you, Victor.
I just want to commend the few members of the for highly educated. We, the Liberians, that believe in justice and love this country so much. I wish that God would be with you. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Let's talk to another person here. Hello, your name and where you join us from? Hello?
Hey, you guys doing good evening.
Good evening.
To Spoon family. This is Peterson Sonia.
Okay, let's hear you, Peterson.
Yeah, Professor, I want to commend you for all that you place right on the floor. They're extremely well. And we must commend you people, the progressive. But today, you see our country, Liberia, like I said, against my name is Peterson Sonia, Executive Director, the victim and survivor of the Liberia massacre and survivor of the St. Peter Lutheran Church massacre, where I lost 7 members of my family, including my father. This is too much in our country. Look in our surroundings. You will see that today our youth, those we hope on today, drugs is killing them. But nothing from the government to say anything. People will fight, argue among and say, you see someone taking something to stab their friend. Police will stay there and nothing happens. So on a serious note, this government has made some of us to just put our mouth into politics. And we of course, when I was coming on, I planned not to get into politics, and up to present, I'm not into politics.
Thank you.
But what's happening to us now is very serious.
Thank
we
you.
have to be a fast thinker. If
Okay.
not, so like we'll go to bar.
Thank you. Let's talk to another person. Hello, your name and where you join us from?
Hello.
Hello, your name and where you join us from?
Yeah, I'm from Rossless.
Okay, let's hear you.
Yeah, I just want to respond to the professor that thing in that field. Then the one that we know before that Liberian now. And he told them Liberian, it'll be killing. Nobody is caring with the government. We love our government. We will stay with our government. And you make any attempt of anything in the country, you anywhere else, they just look at anywhere now.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's talk to another person. Hello, your name and where you join us from?
This is Carlo calling from Monrovia.
Let's hear you.
Okay. It was a nice show. Larry Topa is not a stranger when it comes to Liberian politics. I'm a witness of one of his discourse against Gurish, Reginald Gurish, when we were then student advocates at the University of Liberia, where he was able to get the Fulbright scholarship to go and do a PhD. So his presentation today was very a surprise to me. Mona is there, I'm sure she can bear witness to that. When he did dominate that discourse with different merit, they then U.S. ambassador. So Larry Topa providing such candid and clear, crystal information to the Liberian populace is one which is laudable, and I think you made a good choice by bringing him on today.
Thank you. Another person. Let's hear your name and where you join us from.
I'm Terry. I'm Tengbe calling from Puebla.
Let's hear you, Tengbe.
Yeah.
Let's
I
hear
just
you.
want Honorable Fancon for what he's doing. Then he continue.
Thank you.
Standing by him.
Thank you. Let's hear another person. Hello, your name and where you join us from?
One more call. That's it.
Yeah, make your point.
Good evening, Honorable Fancon. The very first caller, he doesn't know Mr. Topa. Professor Topa, I knew this man when he left Tokma by then, 1984, we entered. From that time, yes, he hasn't done anything wrong in this country. So for somebody to say the man is joking, he's not a joker, I must inform you. If you don't know him, just keep away. That's
Okay.
what I have to tell him.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Yakasi. James, good day. Are we taking any international calls? Good day. Can we do about 4 international calls?
Yeah.
And then we'll give the professor an opportunity to respond to the calls. I think that's why he came back.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, good evening. It was nice listening to Honorable Topa tonight. Professor Topa, my name is Lydia Sandemani Nimbi, and I called from ELWA Monrovia. My question would have been this to him. I worked with him as head of the campaign office for Ambassador Dew, Twan Webb Mason, and Honorable Dustin Wolokali Under Topaz's chairmanship at the National Democratic Coalition in 2011, my boss was Samson Kuya. Now, he spoke of rethinking and reconstructing the country, the state. I would have asked him, and I know he's probably listening, I would have asked him whether he thinks it's possible to mend our deeply splintered political landscape. And if so, what should be the first steps? I think this is something that old guard should think about if they're still thinking, if they're still talking about it. And approximately how long is it going to take? How long might it take? The last question along those lines would be, what can the old guard do to expedite the readiness of the new guard? We, the new guard. What can they do now? What do they have in place for that? That would have been my question. I'm sure he can probably hear me, and then he can be prepared to answer that the next time he's on air. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Your name and where you joining us from?
Hi, this is Robert calling from Australia. Just want to contribute, but first of all, thank you, James, for picking up my call. I want to say thank you also to Big Brother Fadiga. You don't know me, but I'm pretty sure I know you. I know your family. I know from Zerikole. Went to school in the Mormon school with some of your siblings, which we all spoke. I mean, they spoke highly of you guys. We all knew how you guys came up, and I really, you used to be somebody that I always used to follow. From day one, being happy saying, I was also happy saying you on the phone show.
Please go to the point.
But there is something really here that I want to say about, just before going there, I want to say about my big brother.
We don't have time. We don't have time, Chief. Go to the point, make your point. Yes, we don't have time.
Yeah. No, with the professor issue, the professor didn't really answer any question, to be frank. You can't come on this platform. People, we not everyone in Liberia that are educated. People are wanting to get something out of you. You just come and beat around the bush and say nothing else. I mean, there was nothing we got out of this show today, to be frank.
All right.
I was out of the show many times. So please, when you are bringing him on, then he says something that people understand what he said.
All right. Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, Jim, my name is Musa Keita, calling from Minnesota.
Okay, Keita, go ahead.
I want to say thanks to the prof. But I think when Muna asked the question first as to who he thinks can move the country forward, and he beat a right. Prof is a Baka supporter. It's not hating. So all the theories that he's preaching, it will stay with just JMB issue. I saw Prof with JMB Minnesota. They attended town hall meetings. So all the theory doesn't matter to me. Is that he's a Baka supporter, which is not bad. That's his style. But to say the progressive can be removed for so many things, I don't think so. Thank you very much.
All right, so the number is +231 555 11 99. But just look on the screen, those of you who are watching. Your name and where you calling from? Please do I monitor, Chief. Please do I monitor. All right. Hello.
Are we good?
Hello.
Yeah, your name and where you calling from?
I'm Christina Wilson. Calling from the States. And my heart burning for the drugs issue. I want the prof. I want asking. Yeah. Yeah, hello?
When you call, you have to lower your monitor. There is a delay. Lower the monitor and listen to the phone.
From the title or the panelists, if Liberian people will sit there and look at all the ghettos, look at what cheering turning to Subit, because I think that should be the topic for every other month. I walk in that graveyard, we took people to church, we fed people, but I'm sitting down here crying, and every time we come politics. I want to ask, Prof. Toba, we all went to the University of Liberia. We saw your effort and we know you can work. What are you guys doing about the drug issue? And we never heard about drugs when we were coming up. When we heard people smoking or marijuana, we would run from them. And you, the politician, welcome, whoever we are, I'm not even thinking who we are. The president sit there and our VP sit there and let drugs overtake the country, sir?
All right. Thank you. I should take some more. Or...
Just one more. That's it. And then the
right.
prof will respond.
All right. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, Jeff.
Are you ready to call? Please cover. Okay. Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Good evening.
Your name and where you calling from?
Okay. This is Takana, and I'm calling from Ghana.
Make your point, sir.
Okay. No, I'm adding follow-up this phone show, but tonight I'm actually moved to call. Let me say that for sometimes I've heard about how this progressive, but I've not really been made to understand who the progressives are. So I would expect that next time when the professor comes, could you please give me the opportunity to explain the history of the progressive? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, James, good day. Let me give Professor Elari Tukwa the opportunity to comment on some of the callers' concerns and questions.
Thank you again. Inherent in much that I earlier said, that is, was an answer to some of the questions that have been posed. I want to pay particular attention to the drug problem issue that was recently raised by one of the speakers. I had said in opening remarks and in my intervention that we in the progressive community consider everything as interrelated, as interconnected, as determined by each other. Drugs were brought into the country and given to soldiers, child soldiers, to combatants, to make them brave to fight the war. After the war, I'm one of those that was contracted to research on the DDRR process by UNDP. We found out that the country was not properly disarmed. We found out that reintegration was not effective. Others, combatants had just been reinserted into communities. We found out that rehabilitation was not effective. When people came from the countryside, the rural urban migration was complete. Because for a moment, Moreau was a safe haven. I remember traveling to Buchanan during the war years. At some point in time, it was a safe haven. So that rural urban migration, the internal displacement of human beings, and the mass migration of people from the country was very complete. Those who came to Moravia, or most of those who came to Moravia, had no families in Moravia. Most of the families have been displaced. They have no friends with whom to live. So, in the streets of Moravia, they found habitat. In the graveyards of Moravia, they found habitat. In such a freedom, they turn to drugs to numb themselves and face the reality of life. You cannot find freedom in drugs. We want freedom. We want freedom from hunger, from poverty, from disease, from ignorance, from poor housing conditions. Some of the greatest enemies of Liberia are poverty and ignorance. Even those who try their best to go to school cannot get proper education because they have to survive first. So to find means of survival and combine that with schooling has been difficult for some of our children and grandchildren. That is why I say we're in a complex emergency. People take advantage of that to stupefy the youth more. Even in election periods, the beggar race is coming, the liquor is coming, politics has been monetized. Unlike our days, the monetization of politics, the financialization of politics is undermining our democracy. How can you account for the fact that $100 million drugs will come through a country like Liberia, a small population like this, whether it's passing going to other countries, but at least one will remain here? And if it is true, which I believe is true, that $100 million worth of drug was caught coming through our port, which is more regulated. Much more is coming through our borders that are not regulated. And I believe this is not the first time that huge quantities of drug were infiltrated into our country. But all of you know, because I've heard you discussing this over and over, that those who may have organized the bringing of the drugs in the country were exonerated by our court system, a court system that operates on our executive jurisdiction. Justice is unsafe in Liberia. The change of leadership is critical. And that's my thesis tonight. We change the leadership and rearrange some of the ways in which we conduct business. Because as I show you, that particular $100 million case of drugs in Liberia came to Judge Weah's desk. I am not convinced that he did what a good leader ought to do in such a situation. So Weah must go.
Thank you again, Professor Larry Tupa. We look forward to having you here again to continue this dialogue with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you.
You too. Yes. So, Fadiga, it looks like it's just you and I here to give our closing comments. I don't know where the rest of our colleagues went, but that's okay.
For eat food, I mean,
Yeah, food. Yeah, food business not easy. Muna, if you're listening, we would like for you to come back and give your closing thoughts. You sound like you're very familiar with the professor. So anyway, Fadiga, I'll let you go first. What were your thoughts?
Well, the professor did he did what we expected. I was a little disappointed that I did not hear more specific, and I could understand why. But one thing I was able to get out of him is that he supports. Well, he didn't. It was not explicit for it, but based on what he said the wind that we all believe is blowing in the direction of Ambassador Boyka. He confirmed that. So that means we are not insane. We are on the right track to believe what the Liberian people indeed want is the rescue team. and he said that. So even though he may not have been very explicit about who he supports, I know that if he supported the ambassador in 2017, I see no reason why he would not do it this time around. He mentioned about them imposing we are on us, and he even mentioned that the election, about irregularities in the election. I too believe that there were irregularities in the election. The former Supreme Court George, how they call him, Councilor Cabinet Janet said that, mentioned that doing his dissenting opinion right after the election, he laid out that there were serious irregularities in the 2017 election, but somehow Ambassador Boycott thought that it was enough to let it go, and looking back in hindsight, he probably did the right thing, because fast forward we have seen what Ambassador Weah can do. That whole narrative about Propo and Muya, he cannot preach it anymore. I mean, we all can agree in the opposition community that it is time for Weah to leave. We have to combine our effort right now. I know it's going to be difficult. I know our friends within the CPP are doing everything to come second, even though they are lacking in this election. We do understand your position. We do understand that desperation to come of something. So, in as much as we'll be tempted to engage you guys in this battle, we have to restrain ourselves, knowing for the world that at the end of the day, come second round, we are very confident that we're going to meet Ambassador. We are in the second round. We will need you guys, and we need all meaningful, all well-intentioned Liberians to join with us for us to ensure that we rescue this country in the word of Ambassador Boyka and safely deliver it to our generation. I think Ambassador Boyka is the true transitional president. He's going to transition this country from the progressive to this generation that will lead it to a more prosperous and vibrant Liberia. I submit.
Thank you. Submitting like Mr. Fagon, huh?
Hey, y'all, please don't call my name. Y'all call my name, I will come back here.
No, stay here. You will stay and listen to every single word that we have for you today. You will stay right here. Muna, please to your closing out. To your closing, you go nowhere.
I'd like to once again thank Professor Alaric Tokpa. It was a good show. I don't know why Hussein would say that ANC or Mr. Cummins, CBB doesn't have the number, because when Mr. Cummins was heading CPP, we saw all the victories. We saw everybody that he held their hands up. There was all the senators, they all won their seats, the prospective seats at the time, and they won the seats when they went for the election. We know that later on when Walker went to Lofa, and the senator here, he didn't win the election, so we can't guarantee you're not sure whose number is going up, whose number. I can assure you that CPP, Mr. Cummins, he is moving, and he's gathering lots of votes, and we cannot afford to put Weka against Weah, because we did it in 2017. And we saw he couldn't win Weah. So we've seen that story has been read. That movie has been watched. We know the outcome of that. This time around, Liberians who really want change, because look at Liberia, look at our children. All those young men and women that you see on drugs today, they have potential like anybody else. The only difference is that they did not have the opportunity. I know I want to go to sleep, and in 2024 January, that's it, right? After 2023 election, 2024 the inauguration, I want to get up.
The inauguration,
yeah, I want to get up inauguration and say, finally, we're looking at something. Something's going to change. We know, we can feel it, that excitement, that hope, that joy, knowing that our country will place our country into the hands of somebody who's capable and who's going to bring that change, implement systems, put those systems in place, go after those criminals, prosecute them. We saw Mr. Cummins bringing people to go to court, and but you saw the outcome of going out international, bringing people, because he's a man of justice. He's a man of fair play. We will bring all these people our country money that they've been stealing, because every day we hear people coming, they perform, they're doing this, the other one, that other one, and progressive and productive and nothing they can implement. So this time around, we've seen, like I said, we've seen the movie, we've seen Joseph Barker, Ellen, we've seen it. How can you tell me the man 12 years, man? 12 years to empower somebody, you can't even talk some solution, bring some solution to help your partner who is a woman to say, let's do it this way and that way. I'm not going to sit here and stay here. At least sometimes we can see Joel trying to, talk something back and forth, up and down here about, 12 years he was vice president. He tell me, say he coming out to change what? Okay, prior to the 12 years, let's say Ellen locking up, you won't be whole president. You won't be productive, progressive. Somebody shut your mouth for 12 years. What kind of president you going to be? Prior to her, what did he do? My people, we're not against Boyka. I'm telling you, that man was a astute statesman. We're going to retire him honorably. We're going to take care of him. But seriously, let's put our country forward. The drugs, we can't afford another weir, because if you take a weir and you put a Boyka there, he's going to sit down in office and sleep. It's just the same boys there who are going to be doing the same thing, and then everybody going to be crying again. What can we do? He's sitting there. Worst case scenario, he's up there in age. God forbid, we're not praying for nothing bad to happen. But what if something happens to him? Is Jeremiah Cohen ready to take on the country and become president? My people, y'all think about this.
Three-time lawmaker.
We're not protected, please.
Yeah, let me say what I want to say. I didn't say anything when you were talking, please. So let's serious. Since you and I, we grew up in Buchanan, we got frustrated, fatigue. I know all of a sudden you just decided to. I know you decided to join. I know why, because like y'all say, this person. But if this other person, that other person decide, look, this man is going to change our country, and will vote for Cummings, he will have the number. I don't know why everybody hiding behind somebody back. Oh man, the man got a number. How you think he will get a number? If we all vote, we are not voting for Cummings. And let me tell you, if Cummings get there and he doesn't do the right thing, we'll look for somebody else. But we can't keep going back. You can't keep going back and watching
30 seconds, Mona.
Yeah, you can't be going in ABC or Prima 1, Prima 2 when you go to 12 grade, you're trying to graduate to go to college, then you say, let's go back. No, you got to go forward. And we put Cummings there, he do the right thing, we move Cummings, we look for somebody until we find our person one day.
I wish governance were trying error, but it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I want to just tell Professor Alaric Tupa, thank you so much for being here. We look forward to seeing you again. I want to tell all of our callers who call in, thank you. I always appreciate your contribution to the show. And of course, all of the panelists, you know that I really, really appreciate you being here. Fadika, we appreciate you, even though we're not often on the scene page. We don't even have this same affiliation. But, the fact that we can civilly disagree with each other, I really like that. I think it's a model for many people to emulate. Muna, of course, you're always willing to come on and speak for the love of Liberia. So I really appreciate you. It's not about Mr. Cummings. And as I hear you say, it's mostly about the love for Liberia. And of course, Councillor Paco, who, for different circumstances, shouldn't have been here, but he really wanted to be a part of the show. So we look forward to seeing you too. And he's moderating on, I think next week, Friday, he will be moderating.
I know someone will be marginalized out there, but okay.
It will not be easy on the council moderator, right? And of course, Mr. Fagon, who I don't know where he went. He's probably making his dinner right now. So I want to just thank, I'm not forgetting anybody, right? I think good. Thank you guys. It was a great show. And the way that I like to sort of reflect on the show is look at the pros and cons of what I heard today. I will start off with the pros. The professor definitely showed a sense of love for Liberia. He really, really said before he goes to his makeup, he wants to see change in the country. Hold on a second, Ayala. Someone's calling. Hello? Hello? and we really want to make some changes in the country, or see some changes happen in the country. He talked about the need to reconstruct the state. And though I would like to have heard him say more about that, he gave one example of reconstructing the state would have been making constitutional changes. But I really wanted to give us some more, specific plan. And that's what I was asking specifically.
I think he was being politically correct. And I kind of understood where you get coming from. But I'm sure by the time he come back or close to the election, we'll get some specific. You know where he's heading. He's just trying to,
Yeah. And I mean, he was very open when he didn't want to answer a question. He said, "Next, please," So I thought that was interesting. Some of the cons of it was, I think he spoke a little bit too well, and I won't say a little bit. He was too theoretical, above our audience level of understanding. I mean, I appreciate you speaking like this when you go into a forum of your kind of intellectuals. That's perfect. Like you go into a forum of all college professors. I'm not saying college students, not college students, because college students will not understand some of the words that he used today. In my training, I deal with a lot of people where I taught to speak to at least a third grade level. That's the essence of communication. So it's a little different, I think, in Liberia, because I hear how many of the people speak is a compliment to speak in big terms. Let me just see. I wrote my notes down here. He talked about certain people who want to retain power, but I didn't get a sense of who
I tried to push him, and he mentioned that those same people too, according to the word, impose we are on us. And then I wanted to know whether it was individual or mindset. And Muna said those people don't exist, but I don't know whether it was an individual or an ideology. That is where I was
pushed him, and I saw you push him a little bit. He would talk about the regime.
But I did get something out of him, though.
Yeah. What did you get out of him, Fadia?
Well, he said the wind is blowing in Ambassador Workers' favor.
Oh, okay. Now I'm not talking about that part. I was talking. So anyway, finally, I'd like to say October 10th is obviously the big day for us Liberians. Is a consequential election for us, especially many of us who are this generation. We're looking forward to Liberians, us, electing someone who at least changed the path of our country. I think we heard the professor say Liberia was once the shining star in Africa. A lot of people talked about us. They came to study in our country. We, went abroad and came back home. But now, we don't have the same shine, that we had in the past, and we would like to at least put our country on that path. I want to remind you to please give Mr. Cummins and Councillor Bronsky a chance to lead our country out of corruption. We know what corruption is doing for our country, what it has done. Corruption has led to poor health care, poor education system, poor economy. A lot of people not getting paid. A lot of students in our classes, this closing school. We talked about this on this Spoon Talk. And lack of security, poor security. I mean, Liberia, people used to go to clubs. A lot of people that we talk to, they will be coming home 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. But this time in Liberia, I think go that 5 o'clock, everybody seemed to have some kind of uneasiness of being out in the street. They don't want to feel afraid. So we want to put our country back on the path of at least enhancing our health care, improving our education so the children, at least for the next generation, in security. So vote for Mr. Cummins and Councillor Bronsky for a more deserving Liberia, not just for a certain group of people that might have my brother Fadik. I can say, a certain group of people, they hold divisiveness for all Liberians. That's one of the themes of Mr. Cummins, one of the reasons why I like him, because he's thinking for all Liberians. And many of you Liberians that I saw in Liberia that told me you guys are the silent voters. I'm speaking to you. Go and tell a friend. There was a sign when I was passing by, many of them, they would do like this to me. That means they're holding their vote to their chest. They will only come out on October 10th to vote for Mr. Cummins. That's what I was saying. So, Father God, please don't distract me when you're talking about your book business. I didn't distract you. do not vote again. So Father God, yeah, I can take a shot at him. You know, and when you said something really interesting, somebody who's been in government for 42 years, and I'm looking at the time, James, I just wanted to say this.
No, go ahead.
You know, and for me, what is surprising to me, and Father God, I want you to help me process this. So you couldn't speak. The professor said, of course, the vice president has some limitations. Although we see in modern worlds like the United States, you know, Kamala Harris, you know, she is not even affiliated with the legislature as much as it is said in the Constitution. Her job would be to preside over the Senate. She's more into the executive branch. She's very close to Biden. He gives her directives. She offers opinions. She takes on initiatives. Okay, that's the kind of modern vice president that I like to see, not someone who's sort of outdated in our in our Constitution. They say, "Oh, I'm limited to the Constitution." I've seen. In fact, I don't even think Kamala Harris even go. I actually read she doesn't even go to the Senate anymore. Actually, there's someone she deputized to vote for her when there's a tie. You know, when there's a tie. So
can I say something to that? Answer that question.
So okay, let's come back now.
You said something we did not understand, Dato.
What?
You said she has deputy that can vote for her just in case there is a tie?
Yes, to break the tie. There's somebody
is it lawful that the vice president can say
she's not? I've been reading when she's not there, she can deputize someone to do her job. Okay.
Anyway, that's their law.
You see, Doug, you made a finish.
I'll finish. I'll let you to add your views to that. So, okay, let's say you couldn't talk according to Liberian Constitution, because that's what I think a lot of times we hide Vice President Joseph Boakai under the Liberian Constitution limited him. But it's been he's no longer, serving Ellen. Can he tell us what did he recommend to her? When all of the things were going on, what did he recommend? And that's what I want to hear, but I'm not hearing say, oh, I recommended, that she shouldn't sign the Booker's agreements, number one. Or I recommended, that, okay, let's fix the RIA road. And she didn't do that. She didn't listen to me. So that kind of recommendations that I'm looking for, like what happened when he said he was the last person to leave the room sometimes when they had a meeting. I want to hear, and the reason why I think that is important, because that would give me some insight into his leadership skills and how he's going to lead. So, Father God, please speak, and then.
One thing that I've understood about Ambassador Boakai, he's not abrasive. He's one of those people that are kind of very conservative. He respects the old order, that chain of command, where people respect. I've talked to people that actually know Mr. Boakai. Someone described Mr. Boakai as, when you go to visit him, all those young girls were coming, he would stand up, take off his hat, and bow down to speak to those people. That was someone's description, and I took keen note of that. So it showed a man that is still in those old order where people have respect for women and tradition. That one of the things. And I've never seen him. He's a man that would criticize you, but not in a combative way. He rather use proverb or a parable, a different language, instead of you being confrontational. That one of the things. But one of the things for some of us that study Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and follow her administration for the 12 years, Ellen was an unorthodox president. Ellen ran that country not as a unity party government, but she ran something completely. She used the unity party as a stepping stool to ascend to the presidency. When Ellen became president, this is what she did. Ellen brought her son Robert, who was actually the de facto president of Liberia. A lot of you forgot what Robert Sirleaf did in that country. Robert Sirleaf ran the show. When Robert Sirleaf came into the picture, Ambassador Boakai was just a figurehead there at that time. But like even the United States Constitution, there is no real clear duty of the vice president. Kamala Harris is as powerful and as effective as Joseph Arrow Biden wants her to be. What he has done is, knowing that she's a younger, more energetic person, he has used her more. Like in campaigning, they will go on the attack. In America, you see, during the campaign season, the vice president do more attacking. The presidential candidate is more of a layback thing. Kamala Harris has been dispatched and used because he knows her expertise. He knows what she did in California and something. So he has used her more politically. What did Ellen use Boyka for? Was to get the vote in Lofa County. After that Lofa County win, he was not as important to her. So even though he sat by her side for 12 years, even though he proffered some ideas that she didn't take when Robert Sedif came, so look, it is an open secret in Liberia who ran the country. Ellen brought her own team. Ellen made the diaspora unpopular. She imported people. Ellen one time brought her grandson to Alaska to do something, good that you were there, to do something that a Liberian kid, a younger kid in Liberia could have done. That is how Ellen ran that country. When certain names started to pop up from the past. And Joseph Boyka, being someone that is not abrasive, someone that respects the chain of command, sat down and waited for his time. In honor of normal chain of succession, a vice president should have been the clear successor of the president. Most times, when Barack Obama left from the presidency, Joe Biden was an older gentleman. He safely he safely created an avenue for Biden to be there. And it has been that way ever since. Most time, the vice president is a clear successor or potential successor to the president. But in Liberia, especially in all Africa, we saw something very different. Ellen factionized the Unity Party. They became unclear. And what did they do? Ellen did not only leave the Unity Party like that, she left them cash-stricken. In an election year, she left, and she left with the well-to-do portion of the Unity Party. She took all the cash. She did a lot of stuff where she seen dedicated breach in Lofa County or something.
Let me so for tomorrow now.
So this whole thing, look, this race cars that were packed, we have changed the oil. We are giving some tune-up. We are putting some new spark plug. This man is ready to get on the racetrack and move. If you want to see how that car will perform, election to October 10th. And that is when you will see it. That car going to go from 0 to 80 miles to 250 miles in 3 seconds.
Wishful thinking is a
dream.
It's not wishful thinking, it's a reality. Professor just said it.
Everything can't happen. That's true.
But again, for the guy, like I want to know what
it's the truth.
No, you're
Robert Selly story show. There were Robert Selly.
I just want to know. I just want to know what were the recommendations he made to her that you said now that she didn't follow through. We know that she had grudges. Somebody in one of the books I read said she wrote 17 grudges. He wrote 17 grudges that he had towards Madam Selly, you know. So maybe they
remember Ambassador Walker said we squander opportunity. It takes guts to say that we squander opportunities. That means there was $16 billion of foreign direct investment. That is an opportunity that was squandered. If had that been on Ambassador Joseph Boyka watch, we wouldn't be talking this thing. But what could he do?
It would have taken a greater It would have taken a greater gut.
Two options. What were his options? Leave government, which would have made him a clear target. Speak against the government while he's
now you are telling us why.
That's
and you are honest that time. Nobody will forcing you right now. I think it's probably because you think he has a chance of winning or people going to vote. That's not true. It's not happening.
I know he has a chance. I don't think it.
People are stupid. Let me tell you, the people voted for Ellen 2 times. They were not going to put Boyka there the 3rd time, so they voted for Weah. Weah did not do right. Liberian people are going to look for the next best thing. They're not going to go back in reverse.
Guys,
to go to some car. It's not happening. So don't be
fooled. The oil, everything. What if the oil don't work?
It's not happening.
The oil don't work, and the wheel is the wrong wheel.
It's not happening, and you know it because when you are not under no pressure, you give your true honest analysis of JMB. Now I don't know where your head is turning out or something, but we know you're not being honest. No,
but why you want it
not
from JB analysis or Charlie?
We know you're not being honest. We know that.
Be honest. I mean, I respect Miss Boston.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much.
I will be here tomorrow. I will be here tomorrow.
Actually, we want to announce tomorrow. Tomorrow is Saturday. We're going to have a female presidential candidate coming in. Miss Benu Kroma is on tomorrow for an hour. She's running to be president, and she's gonna tell us her plan. So come with your comments and questions ready, so we can enjoy her as well. Okay, thank you so much. Bye bye. Good day. Bye-bye.
The other female got no money again to run, so she joined behind somebody else to get a platform.
Hey, Muna.
Yeah.
Muna better, you wanted the same female, but she did not come to you now. You won't come more.
I said the other one. I'm talking about Benu. I said the other one. Who said she
was who you talking about?
Okay, bye. She looking for a platform to talk on now. Okay, bye.
All right, better.
You let them come in up. You let them keep me here.
Oh, but you can't go off yourself. You want to go off? Hey, put your head there and call it off.
Okay, hold on. Let me find it.
Okay, go there and take yourself off.
Okay. Bye. Peace to everybody. Nice show.
Okay, and you took yourself off. All right, folks. We hope to see you again tomorrow at 8 p.m. Tomorrow, Liberian time, 8 p.m. Until then, my name is Kude, and have yourself a great time.